Yo YouTube! This is my video for Monday the 2nd of June. So the last time I was on the road was the 16th of May, just about 2 weeks ago, and quite a lot of stuff has happened in that time. I'll tell you about most of it in this video, which might prove to be quite a long reintroduction. Let's start off with today. So I hadn't got a job booked in for this morning, and I was quite looking forward to getting back on the road. And I was looking for jobs from around about 8:30 onwards. And I put some bids on from some very juicy jobs. There was a job going to Glasgow, and there's a job going to Southampton, wait and return. I think it was sort of like Peterborough to Southampton. There's jobs from sort of Thetford to a bit South Wales. There's a job from King's Lynn to sort of Preston area. These aren't exact, but they're just they're roughly what I can remember as to what's happening this morning. But they're all pretty good distances, good jobs for me to do, and I didn't win any of them. So I chose at about 10 to 10 to head down to the garage to get some fuel, because I needed some. I would have got a little job done fine, but I thought I'd get a full tank. And I thought if I'd start moving away from home, sod's law will mean I'll get a job heading north. And unfortunately that didn't work today. I got to the garage, filled up with fuel, and no jobs came my way. So I stayed there for about half an hour, and then I sort of headed home. Same idea, if I head back towards home, the job might come up towards Peterborough, which is away from where I was heading. Again, that didn't work the second time either. But I got home and I was looking for jobs, and not much was happening. I started doing some admin work. I'd done quite a lot of this last night to catch up with my accounts and various things I do, my emails, and I had 3 missing invoices. So today, when I arrive at Lincoln, well, I'm actually in Lincoln now, but it's the other side of Lincoln from where I live. I'm still 15 minutes away. So when I arrive, I'll be there for 3 o'clock. It'll be the first job of the day. And this job that I'm doing is a bit of an experiment, because it's a mini multi-drop, I would say. It's got 7 drops in North and East London, and 1 drop at the end in South London. It's at SE1, south of the river. And that's the one I'm least looking forward to at the end of the day. I've worked out using Google Maps that I suspect it will take me about 5.5 hours to complete the job. And then I've got a 2-hour or so journey home. So I should be finished around about 10:30. Hello YouTube, I'm back! I've had a very interesting hour or so, and I shall tell you all about it. So, I arrived on site bang on 3 o'clock, and before I arrived I had been given a list of 8 stops ending in SE1, and they were in an order that was specified on CX, and I was aware that this was a new contract for this shipper. He had said that it was new for him, he didn't know much about it yet. And also he said he's meeting with them tomorrow, and he's going to do the job tomorrow. So it's possible that I am the first person to do this for the new shipper. I don't know if it's all set in stone whether it's a trial period or whether he won't end up getting it. But I'm just going to assume that he is taking over the contract, and that's where we stand. So I went into full charm offensive when I arrived, and the first thing I was given was a list of stops which matched my list in terms of the address and phone numbers, but didn't match my addresses of the order. And they said to me, this is the order the last driver did this in. And I said, oh, I've got a different order. And that I got the impression they didn't really care which order it was done in, as long as it was done correctly. So I wasn't worried about which order I was going to do it in. And it so happened that the driver that used to do this job started off with the SC1 as the first stop. That makes some sense, I suppose, because it's kind of the hardest one. Now, from that conversation, I deduced a couple of things. One thing I've already told you. One, it's the same customers every single time, but the order of delivery isn't that important as long as you contact the customer before you arrive. And two, I surmised that there had been a regular driver doing this route every day or every time, and for whatever reason, he, because it was a he, is no longer doing it. Now, the way they were speaking about it, they might have thought he was just on holiday for a week. So I wasn't going to say anything about the new contract. I didn't mention any of that, because I don't know what they know and what they don't know. But I don't know if they know that the other driver isn't coming back, or maybe the shipper doesn't know that he is coming back. So it's all a bit up in the air. But I'm just working on the assumption that the shipper has got the new contract and he's going to retain it. I'm guessing the previous driver, for some reason, can't do it anymore or has chosen to stop doing it. Right, next thing that happened. At the bottom of the list they gave me, it said about collecting boxes for a return only if they've got labels on. Now, I wasn't aware, and obviously nor was the shipper, that there might be returns. And in this case, I did say to them, oh, I'm not coming back to Lincoln tonight, because obviously my price was not including coming an hour out of my way further north to drop off some returns and an hour extra to get back home. So a 2 hour extra on my day was not covered in my rate. But they said, oh, that's okay. They checked through them and they double checked by ringing somebody, and that none of the people I'm going to today will have returns. When I got the list, it only had 4 deliveries of the 9, but they were the same names as I had on my original list. So I'm only doing 4 today, not what I thought was going to be 8. But looking at the list, there's actually 9 names on this list, so maybe the shipper needs to add something to their list. Oh yeah, and the other thing is they had a set of keys in their hand, and they were going to give me a set of keys to access some of the locations. And I did say, well, I can't come back tonight. And they double checked, and again, only one of the people that had a delivery today needed a key, and so they rang that person and they agreed that they would be on site and they would come and collect them from me when I phoned them. I would phone them when I arrived at the bottom of the building, and they live in a flat and they're going to come downstairs and collect the items from me. So I'm guessing that the key gets into the lobby of the building and you leave it at the bottom of the stairs. So that's what I'm guessing. I've got some detailed notes about what to do for each delivery. I've got their phone numbers. All I've got to do is I'm going to keep the same order that the shipper gave me. So the first stop is still going ahead. The next 3 stops are not happening. The following 3 stops are happening. And luckily for me, the last stop is not happening today, which is the one that's south of the river. So it should make that should make my day-to-day a lot easier than it's going to be. That one delivery south of the river not happening has probably saved me the best part of an hour in my day. To travel from East London to South London and back across the river back home would have been a lot of time, I think, and a toll. So it saved me a bit of money as well. So I'm really pleased about there being only 4 stops on this occasion. And then, so I got all loaded up. There were 7 packages in total for the 4 stops. They are quite big boxes. They are boxes that are a variety of sizes and weights. I carried the smallest, lightest box to my van, and then I just sort of hung around my van talking to somebody while they did the rest. So I managed to get my van loaded up for me. So the issue now is, when I get to the other end, how am I going to cope with these boxes at the other end? It's possible I've got to do some stairs, in which case I'm going to ring the client and get them to come down and meet me, because I can't do that. It's possible that one of the boxes is very heavy. I do have a sack barrow, but the box is very big. It might not fit on the sack barrow. So I'll have to see how I get on with that. So that's the unknown. And obviously there's no returns, and I've not got the keys today. Now, I rang the shipper afterwards and gave him the lowdown of what was going on, and I was really pleased because he said to me he knew from the text messages this morning that he could trust me and that I was reliable and professional, which I thought was really good. Very astute of him, obviously, and very accurate of him. And when I spoke to him on the phone, I just managed to engender oozing appreciation from him for my professionalism. That's my perspective on it anyway. So effectively, I think he may have offered me the job as a full-time gig, but I stopped him going there because I said to him, let's just see how today goes first, because to be honest, I don't know how I'm going to feel driving down to London at 3 o'clock, sorry, up to Lincoln at 3 o'clock, down to London for 6 o'clock, 4 deliveries, and back home for about 9 or 10, probably 9 now. I'm sure it's not going to be a problem with the hours, I've done those hours before, but I'm concerned about the physical side of it, the lifting and carrying, and it might just be, it's just too much for me to cope with. And so if I am offered this gig on a full-time basis, I have to think very carefully about whether the customers I'm going to go to can help me, or whether I'm close enough to drop-off locations that it's not a lot of walking. So until I've done it, I won't know that. Now obviously, again, I'm assuming that he's got the contract. It might be that when he sees it tomorrow, it ends up falling apart for whatever reason. So I'm not going to worry too much about it becoming a full-time gig. I'm only mentioning it now because it's what he said and it is a factual thing, but I'm not getting too excited about it, and I'm going to see how it goes. The more I drive away from Lincoln, the more I'm thinking it'd be quite handy for me to have this as a full-time sort of job. 3 o'clock pickup in Lincoln. It suits my sleeping style, sort of late, go to bed late, wake up late. It might not suit my partner's sleeping style, that's another thing completely. And I think with my home dialysis, which I'm going to talk about in my next video, it could quite easily fit in if I do a little shift of my sleeping schedule. So, also the last thing, I think it might be a 4-day-a-week job, and I'm almost certain it's the same route every day, and it's just some deliveries aren't made on some occasions of the 9 customers that they have on that route. So it would become very easy once I've done it a few times. So I wouldn't be changing where I'm going or the people I'm delivering to. So if I can charm each of those 9 people enough, they might even carry stuff for me. We'll see. We've got a long way to go before we get anywhere near that. But yeah, so I'll keep you up to date with it. It would be the first time, if I was to get it as a regular gig, it would be the first time in 2 years that I would be offered something that lucrative and that regular. The closest thing I got to it was in my first few months, 6 months. I did for about 6 months those deliveries around the country that were flexible, that could be done sort of co-loaded and flexible, and that was really useful and really lucrative for me. But obviously that wasn't a contract. It was just kind of I did it once and they liked me, so they carried on using me until they stopped doing it. But to be fair, I couldn't do that now because of the physical side of it. So that probably stopped at the right time for me. Each item I was carrying was quite heavy, and I needed to use my sack barrow every time. It had stairs and it was quite a lot of walking, so I probably am fortunate that it did end when it did. So let me bring us to a pause. I'll start a new video. I'll talk about why I've been off for the last 2 weeks and what's happened. Right, I'm back. I've just had an apple and I'm ready to tell you about my last 2 weeks. So for those people who haven't been following my every up and down, on the 22nd of April I had an operation which was fitting a catheter tube which enables me to then start doing a form of dialysis called peritoneal dialysis, or referred to as PD. Currently I'm doing hemodialysis, referred to often as HD, and that is very tough on the body. It's very tiring, and it does sort of take it has a big impact on the blood chemistry, whereas PD is more gentle. It would be something I can do at home as I sleep at night, and it should be able to allow me to maintain a bit more kidney function for longer than I would do if I was just doing HD. HD is almost like the most last resort powerful treatment that's very, very high intensity. It kind of takes away all the effort from the kidneys completely. And so if you do it for a long time, it tends to mean that your kidneys just start to give up quicker. Also, HD requires me to go to a clinic for a total of 5 hours out of my day, 3 days a week. 2 of those are in the week, which means I can't work on those days. So I'm now currently being reduced to 3 days working a week off the CX, and obviously that's far from ideal if you want to earn any kind of decent amount of money, or even just enough money, to be honest. So my plan is to transfer to PD, do it at home, do it at night, so that I've got the days back for working. And I don't know whether I'll go back full time straight away, but what happened in the last 2 weeks is, in the first week, the week of my birthday, we had 3 days of training, me and my partner, about how to use the machine, how to connect, disconnect, how to kind of wash your hands properly. I wouldn't say they were 3 full days. They started quite late and they ended quite early, with an hour's lunch time in the middle. But they were worth doing. They were quite intensive. Well, we made sure we listened carefully and we took it all on board. And we worked as a team, me and my partner, to learn how to do it. And in the end, we kind of convinced the nurse that we were getting a hang of it quite quickly, and so by the Thursday I was in a position where I was able to go on overnight for the first time. And I've been on that every night since that Thursday, so that's now a week and a half. So last week I was off for the week for another reason. So that first week was the training week. I did full hemodialysis as usual throughout all that time, plus every night 9 hours of PD. And last week, my partner was very ill, and so I wasn't going to go to work and leave them alone at home, so I stayed off work to do what I could to be supportive. And I was fine with that because I quite liked the time being at home. And over the last few days this weekend, I have managed to catch up with a lot of my admin, my business admin, and my emails. The only thing I haven't really touched is my YouTube work or admin. I had caught up after my operation at the end of April, but since 2 weeks ago I haven't really looked at it at all. I had planned to do videos in the second week, non-day in the life videos, and in the end I only released one of them towards the end of last week. But I haven't looked at any comments yet. I haven't replied to any comments yet. So in terms of my work that I need to do, it's the YouTube, comments and videos and a bit of editing, but everything else is up to date. And in terms of my admin, I was going to talk about something else at this point. I have at the moment got 3 unpaid invoices, which are quite late. One's a month late, the others are about a week late. Now the one that's a month late, I know I'm not going to get paid that. I've emailed the guy twice, absolutely no response to those emails. I've rung the only number, which is a mobile number, 4 times. Every single time I ring that number, it rings for about 10 rings and then goes to voicemail. So it's not like he's missing the call, he's choosing to ignore it. And I've left 2 voicemails and he's not got back to me. So I'm left with the impression that this is a cowboy guy who has no intention of paying me, and I've had to do something I've never done before, and that is I've made a complaint through CX. I had to check with them by submitting a support ticket about how to go about doing it, but in the end it was really easy. And it's one of those things that if I can anonymise CX, I would do a video about it because it's quite nice to know how to do it. Now, it's only £60 for his invoice. It's not the end of the world if I don't get paid it. It's more principle than anything else. But I'm not going to waste any more time on him. I made the complaint. I hope it gets accepted, and I will just learn from that. I'm beginning to see a pattern in the sorts of people that don't pay me. And I'm not going to mention that pattern yet until I get more evidence to support it. But it's interesting that I'm seeing a pattern that could allow me to avoid this in the future. But I do not like what it says, and I hope it's not true. But I think it is. From my experience, I think it is. We're coming up to some road works here. It's going to be a delay of apparently about 4 minutes, according to Google Maps. It's not very long. Okay, what was I going to say next? So, My PD will allow me to work in the other days of the week that I'm currently not working. And this week I have elected to do 3 hours rather than 4 hours of hemodialysis, and I'm not going to do Thursday this week because I want to transition across from hemo to PD, peritoneal dialysis. And that will mean that for the first time in a long time I can work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week. I can't work tomorrow, which is Tuesday, but I do have my therapy on Tuesdays at the moment, so it's fine to keep dialysis that day. But it's looking like I might have some opportunities to earn a bit more money in the near future. I shouldn't be on hemodialysis for very much longer, probably at most another week, maybe at most 2 more weeks. It's part-time. So I'll be doing no more Thursdays now, from now on. So yes, that's what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks. A week of training and then a week of not doing very much, relaxing and looking after my partner, and sort of just getting my head around the PD routine and learning how to do it. We've got a step-by-step instruction list, and obviously the more you do it, the less you have to rely on that. But it's quite clear. And once you know what you're doing, it's quite easy in the end. But it's quite a lot of complexity to start off with. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention is on the Monday the 19th, the first day, I did get my delivery of my machine and the first set of materials. And it comes in quite a lot of boxes. We've managed to move some space around in our bedroom so that one of our chests of drawers is now empty and fully devoted to the PD equipment. But it's a lot of stuff. And the way they do it is I get a delivery every 2 weeks, every other Monday. And the Friday before, or the Thursday before, I need to ring them, or they ring me, and I put my order in for the following delivery slot. And you're meant to have enough stuff, spares, in case they can't deliver on exactly the right day. So I've kind of gone with 2 weeks spares for most things, and except for the big bags of fluid. The bags of fluid that I remember because they're the things that I carried into the guy's house I did back in November last year. Those fluid bags are heavy and big. They're 10 litres. No, they're 5 litres each. So that's about 5 kilograms each, so it's they're quite big, but big bags, and they are all stored in our spare room, and the driver brings them upstairs from the company that provides them. I don't think it's going to be usually done by a courier. I think it's usually done by the company that works with the dialysis unit. So that's all sorted out now. It's becoming a bit of a normal thing, and we're getting used to doing it. We set up the machine. Well, my partner sets up the machine during the day, then I come in at night and connect up. Then in the morning I dispose of the waste. There's a lot of waste now. There's a lot of waste cardboard, and there's a lot of waste bags. We have to double bag the waste, the clinical waste, which is basically mainly plastic tubing, and we have enough in a bag to get 2 days worth of stuff, and then it fills up a bag quite full. So we've got a lot more waste, but we have managed to reinstate assisted collections for the refuse. So we leave them by the side gate and they come and collect them rather than put them by the road. So it's a bit more out of the way of public, and it's easier for us to put the bags there. So quite a lot's happened and changed, and it's all been kind of positive, I would say, and it allows me to have more control and flexibility. At the moment I have to do every single night, but I'm hoping that when I get so they test my bloods every so often, and they can see how effective the therapy is being in terms of my blood results. But they also can see the machine measures how much time on on the dialysis for. So just to quickly go through that, what happens is I connect up with a tube to my catheter tube, and then I'll get into bed, and then the machine pumps 2 litres of fluid into my abdomen. It sits there for an hour and a half, and then it gets drained off by the machine into a waste bag, and then it pumps in another 2 litres of warmed up liquid, and then it does that cycle 5 times. So I have 2 litres in, drained out 5 times, and over the course of the night the machine knows how well the flow is doing. It will alarm if it gets blocked, if I roll onto the tube. It will measure how long I've been sitting sort of with this liquid in my stomach, and how long it's taken to drain, and whether it got stuck on the process. So it's quite detailed and enough. You can tell a lot from the graph that's produced as to how effective your therapy is being sort of on a daily basis, and then they back that up with blood tests to check the effect it's having on your blood chemistry. So I'm hoping that in time, if I can show that I'm doing therapy correctly and regularly, and it's having not a lot of missed time. I'll explain about missed time. If let's say it can't drain the liquid, then the machine beeps and it waits for you to sort of move about or change. But if it's only a small amount away from its target, it won't necessarily beep. And so if the draining time is extended beyond the sort of 10 minutes it usually is, then it eats into the time that the liquid's sitting in your stomach, in your abdomen, and so you have less therapy time. So overall, after you've got 5 cycles, you might only have, rather than the 7.5 hours, which would be the full amount of therapy time, you might only have 5 hours or 6 hours. Obviously you're missing out maybe an hour and a half of dialysis time then. Now that might not matter if your blood chemistry is correct, but it might be the difference between it working and not working for some people. And obviously they can change how many cycles they do, they can change how much liquid is pumped in, they can change how many at what point the draining happens. Because they don't drain it all off, they don't put in 2 litres and drain off 2 litres. They put in 2 litres, drain off 1.5 litres, add in 1.5 litres, like that, drain off 1.5 litres. So there's always going to be a mixture of that last half a litre that's kind of mixing up with fresh liquid. And the reason for that is it would take far too long to drain every last millilitre of liquid out when you're lying down. If you're standing up, it might be quicker, but lying down and sleeping, it just wouldn't. You'd end up having maybe 2 cycles all night. It would take too long to drain out 2 litres. And they can change how much the level of draining out is. They can make it half or 3/4 or 80% or even 85% is the maximum. I'm currently on 75%, so they take out 1.5 litres and put in 1.5 litres each time. But ideally you want to take out more than that to get a better therapeutic response. So what I'm trying to do is do this properly every night, and I'm hoping that if I can show that it's working, with my blood result. So the other part of this, which is something I've been doing on and off anyway, is I have to be careful about my diet. I can't eat lots of phosphates and potassium containing foods, and that would include dairy foods. I can have a limited amount, but not much milk. So if I was to start eating the foods that contain potassium and phosphates, obviously my blood chemistry results would show that, and therefore I would need to do more dialysis. But if I can be very strict with my diet and strict with my therapy routine, then it should prove that I can have perhaps a night off every so often, and not do it 7 nights a week. And that would be great. If I can have 1 or 2 nights off a week, I'd have some extra flexibility that I can even do a bit of tramping. So we'll see. It's very early days at the moment, but it does mean that I've got hope of getting a bit more work time in. Okay, I've got one more thing that I know I want to talk about, which won't be quite as long. I'll do it as a separate video. Cheers. Okay, YouTube. While I was off, I had quite a lot of time to watch YouTube, which I do quite a lot of. And something came to my attention, which does concern me. And I've thought about it quite a lot. And so I'm going to talk about that in this bit of the video. And it's courier-based content on YouTube from predominantly younger people who have migrated their videos from TikTok to YouTube. So they have lots and lots of shorts and no other long form videos. And the problem with, there's nothing wrong with that in theory, that's not the problem. The problem is what they're talking about, and it really worries me. So let me try and explain what I mean. Before I start with my worries, I want to say I think this is a really excellent job for someone to do who has a certain set of personal skills or characteristics and has not a lot of commitments, financial commitments. It's really suited for people post-career, doing another job, another career, who have learnt what life is about and can kind of not fall for the obvious downsides. But it's also great in theory for the people at the start of their careers who haven't got a family yet, who want to sort of grow something that they're in control of. The problem with that side is there's not a lot of life experience to base your judgments on. And also, if you are going to be successful, you might then start having a family and it might then become very untenable once you start having young children. And maybe you want to buy a house, which again I think is tough to save up for if you've got this sort of income. But they're all things that we all know about. We've done this for a while. And so I don't want to discourage somebody at the start of their working life from doing this job, but they really need to be realistic and have good guidance. And I think that the video content that I've seen that's migrated from TikTok doesn't serve them very well at all. And if it was just that, I wouldn't worry so much. But it goes further than that. I think some of the content I've seen is downright scamming. It is harmful for people to take the advice of these people, and it's really worrying. I'm really worried about somebody falling for the promises of what some of these people are saying, and they dress it up with an overly optimistic, cheery outlook and saying how great they are doing, but without the details. They don't give you details about how they are doing, and they might just mention one great job that they've got and then imply they do that every day. I'll give you an example of something that really upset me. One of the people was saying that you can get £500 for a job in a small van going from London to Scotland. Well, I don't think that's true. Maybe if you've got your own customer, and maybe if you go into the very north of Scotland, maybe it's possible certainly I don't think get that for CX. But then they said, and you can do that on the way back as well. And there is no way that you can earn £500 from Scotland to London. No way on earth. That is a lie, and it's really upsetting me that someone would say that and try to fool people to think you could earn £1,000 in a trip. They even implied you could do it in one day, go up in one day, come back. Now I travel up to Scotland back in one day from sort of the Peterborough area. London is a good hour and a half extra, so that's an extra 3 hours on your day. I don't think it's feasible to do that. I don't think it's safe. I don't think it's feasible, and you certainly wouldn't get paid the full amount doing that. Well, let's put it this way: if somebody did do that, they are very fortunate. That's not the normal experience of people, and when you're telling people they can do that, I think that you know you're lying, and I think that you're trying to scam people. And it's not just one person, there's more than one person doing this. It's come from the TikTok side of things, and it worries me, as I said. Now, I was thinking about the sort of stuff I talk about, and I think it's realistic, and it is my version of what I'd achieve. And you could do what I do better, you might even do it the same or worse, but I am limited to 3 days working a week up until now. So maybe when I go to 5 days a week, it might be a bit more impressive. But I'm not going to make a lot more money per day. I'm just going to make it more in total. So I was thinking, the content that I produce is valid for people who don't know what they're doing. But it's just, I have no viewership below about the age of 30. I probably should take a screenshot of my audience breakdown. You might find it interesting. Half of my audience, or more than half of my audience, are older than me. So 55 or over, more than half of my audience are that. And then it's about something, off the top of my head, it's something like 15% in the tranches below, but nothing below 30. It's like 30 to 40, 30 to 35, maybe 15%, 35 to 40, 50%, and 40 to 50, 50%, something like that. I don't know, but I'll probably put up a screenshot now that shows you the actual figures. But you'll get what I mean by, if you look at the bottom of my age spectrum, there is nobody that watches what I do. And it's those people that will be watching TikTok type content. And the people that produce that, who are their sort of age, they will relate to those people, they will believe them, and they will be tempted to take at face value what they're saying. And I find it dangerous. I think it's very dangerous. Now, I'm going to go as far as saying this. I'm not going to name the people for obvious reasons, but I am very concerned about some of these people. It's not just one person, it's more than one. But some of these people are actually asking their viewers to DM them to pay a fee to get guidance about how to do same-day courier work. And that is an all-out scam. No questions in my mind that that's a scam. You don't need to pay anybody to learn how to do this job. You can get all the things you need to know free off YouTube, and then everything else you learn from experience. And there is really no need to pay anyone any money. And I'll go as far as saying this. The impression that I got when I watched those videos was that this person that I'm looking at is a scam artist in the making. They're doing it now, and they're going to do it for the rest of their life. when you hear about massive scam artists like Robert Maxwell or Bernie Madoff, who kind of when they're quite old have massive scams. Like Bernie Madoff had a pyramid investment scheme. Robert Maxwell stole money from his pensions, and for his workers all lost out. Those people are scammers, but you know what? They would have been scammers all their lives. And this person I'm looking at is going to be the same in 10 years' time, the same in 20 years' time, the same in 30 years' time. I worry that they are just a young version of a Bernie Madoff. And they're doing it now, and they're making money off people illegitimately, and I'm really quite cross about it. And I feel quite powerless to do anything about it because the people that are susceptible to this don't watch my videos. So, I was thinking while I was off, should I start to do short content to try and capture a younger audience and to try and kind of get some of the ideas and issues that I think are important across to younger people. And I was thinking quite seriously about doing that, and then in the same period, without any conversation between us, James Fletcher started doing exactly that. He's doing really good quality short form videos, and it's only just the start of it. In a year or two's time, he's going to have a library of amazing content. Now, he might well focus more on the shipper driver side, so there may be still a gap for just a driver on CX to do some work, but I'm not going to do it quite yet because I'm not sure what value I can add beyond what James is doing. But we'll see. I might try a few things out as tests and maybe just see what happens and go from there. But yeah, so that's the outcome of that was I thought I probably need to change one aspect of what I do. I wouldn't change my usual videos, they'd be the same. I'd add to what I do some short form content in the shorts. And then the last thing I want to say about this, which is completely not relevant to what I just said, but it kind of comes to mind. When I started doing YouTube 2 years ago, I didn't know much about anything about YouTube. I didn't know much at all, but I knew I was going to learn by doing it. And over the first sort of year, I was worried that I was going to be doing the same content every single time that would become very monotonous over the course of years, and that what I'm producing now, sort of a year ago, might be good now, but it might be very boring in 5 or 10 years' time. And I just couldn't see how I was going to adapt what I did because I didn't have the knowledge. Since then, I have adapted somewhat. I have got a daily on the road style. I have got what I call a rambling narrative style, which works, which wasn't quite the same at the start. I don't necessarily focus on particular definitions at the moment. I also can edit videos, so I can do like day in the life as I'm doing it on the day, on the day almost. And I can do sort of text in videos, and I can do a few other little bits and pieces. So what I've developed has changed, and just maybe doing shorts just the next step in just evolving. I think that shorts for the younger people is the way to go, but also there's going to be people who don't want to hear all my ramblings who will listen to shorts as well. So it just makes a bit of sense that maybe developing some short videos content is the next step that keeps me a bit more up to date than it would be otherwise. I think there'll come a time, because there's going to be a limit on my ability to change and develop. There'll come a time when what I'm producing is not of a good enough standard to cut it. I think at the moment it's fine. I hope that made sense. It makes sense to me that I'm on a journey and I've still got some way where I can go before I get to the end of my abilities. But yeah, so I'm not there yet. I'm not doing it yet, but I just thought I'd let you know that's my thinking. Right, I think that's all that I can think of to update you on. I'm currently an hour away from my first drop-off, so to ring the customer in half an hour, and then we'll see how this goes today. Hello YouTube. I am just approaching Peterborough off the A1M, having driven for an hour and a half from my last drop-off in somewhere in East London, and I've got about half an hour to get home, and I thought, oh, I better do my last video. The thing is, I'm way too tired to look at my stats for the day, so I'm not going to do that now. What I'll do is over this bit of the video, I'll do a running ticker tape at the bottom with my stats. It's not going to be amazing. My guess is I will have made about £200 net, and I have got fuel. I did get fuel this morning, so I have got a new fuel price, which I remember is being 13.01 pence per mile. So I will do that ticker tape now, and I'll just tell you a bit about the job as it was. The overwhelming impression I'm left with is that the job is pretty good, but I'm not very capable of doing it, and it's really disappointing. I'm not ready to say I won't do it if I'm offered it again, but because having done it once, I think because I went to brand new places, it was quite tiring. If I was to go back to the same addresses, and it is like that, it is going to be the same addresses each time, then it wouldn't be quite as tiring because I know what to expect and where I was going. So I have only done 4 of the 9 possible stops, and I don't know if I will be offered it again, but I'm not going to turn it down. But I am going to be really mindful that physically I am going to struggle. The way I got around today, luckily all of the places I was going to had basically they were basically on terraced streets. I could park outside each of the properties. There were houses that were all converted into flats, and then I rang the front doorbell. Well, I rang them beforehand, before I arrived, with the phone, and then I rang the doorbell and left the items at the front door, and they were all at home today, and then I left them with them at the front door, took a photo. So it limited my need to go anywhere else, in like back gardens or sheds or anything like that. But even doing that, I struggled physically with the just walking with the items and carrying some of the big boxes. So I remember my last delivery, I parked up right outside the house. I took a light box to the front door, which is only about 10 metres from where I'd parked up. Basically it's a small front garden, a public path, and I was on the road. So I crossed the public path, went down the garden to the front door, and then rang the bell. And then on the way back to my van, I was really struggling to walk. When I got back into my van, my feet were getting really numb and tingly. My legs were getting very tingly, and I thought this hopefully will go soon, because I'm not going to move anymore. I'm sitting down now. Hopefully it'll go. And it did go, but it's one of the situations where you think, one day, what if it doesn't go away? And what if I'm not at the end of my shift or in the middle of the shift? So I leave today feeling that I will do the job again, but I'm really physically not up for it, but I want to do it again. So we'll see how we get on with that. Thank you very much for listening to my video. I hope that you are all being successful, however you choose to find that word for yourselves. And I shall be next back at work on Wednesday this week, looking to do a 3 days in a row, and we'll see how I cope with that. So, farewell, friends.